What is going on, everybody? Happy Wednesday. I'm BobbyFi, back with my man Eric Sheets-Haber. We've done one video this week for you that I've been a part of. Sheets has been great. He's done all the other ones. But we're back now, back in business. No more weddings, no more daughter birthdays. We're back in business for a while, and we are ready to get through on a really fun slate. Nice 7-gamer. Draftkings I love the slate on both sites, actually, but I'm excited to talk about it on Draftkings because at this moment, it's not easy. It's easy to do what you want, but I think there's a lot of guys you're going to have to decide between who are going to rate very similarly. So we'll get into some sort of game theory talk and also talk about what we like. Sheets, what's been happening with you, and what are your first thoughts on this slate?
Yeah, I mean, I told you, I think this is a good slate. So I put on a suit tonight just for this podcast, just to let everybody know that I mean business. That's pretty much what I'm doing, And I figure between Bobby's, getting down into the trenches outfit and my mean business outfit, I think that we're going to combine for some good content. And hopefully, like I said in the last preview, I mean, again, I haven't gotten there in the last couple of days or last week or so. But I have got a lot of notes like, thanks for this call, thanks for that call. So at least someone's putting together some of the pieces that we've been throwing out there. And again, as I said, so much of this does come down to construction and finding the right mix of low-owned guys and high-owned guys and all this kind of stuff. So I am glad to see that we're doing a decent job. But I have to say that, like, on the way back here, I was a little depressed, Bobby. Maybe we should have talked about this off air, but not depressed. I really just always want to make sure that when we do these things, that we are doing something, I don't want to say necessarily different, like different is always better, but just giving you kind of like a different look to how to approach these things than everybody else does, and it can become tempting to kind of fall into a pattern of, okay, I like this, here's this game. And I always like to kind of kick myself after I do one of these things, just to make sure that we're not just doing what everybody else does and hoping we do it better, which certainly is one way of doing it. But I do think that hopefully our approach continues to make you guys think a little bit and not necessarily just plug in players.
Yeah, I agree. And that is, I mean, we've gotten feedback that it has helped people overall with their game. Good. It's sort of, it's hard to put into exact terms how to do that, but I do think that we're definitely doing our best to try and do this. And any feedback from you guys is welcome. We're not just trying to give you the hot plays. We want you to become better players as well. And that's the overall goal. So with that said, though, we do want to talk about this from a game-by-game basis. I actually think before we do that, just looking at your screen, that's sort of your core. That's sort of the obvious core tonight, I feel like.
Exactly. I mean, this is like the chalky, you know what I mean? Like the chalky bill that you could pretend you have GPP upside also because you're stacking the same game, right? So like DeRozan and Podol are just going to rate to be just awesome plays, and you're like, boy, wouldn't it be cool to have someone on the other? Oh, there's Luka. You know what I mean? So and it's not as if Luka's going to be, and we'll talk about this, not as if Luka's going to be massive chalk, because there's like other really, really good plays at his price range or around there that also look really, really good. So, one thing that we have to address, just coming in, is we just found out that Trae Young was, I would say downgraded, but just picked up a Q tag for illness, just kind of out of the blue, and that's not good. It's not good for my. It's not good for my evening. It's not good for my 6:30 to 7 o'clock time. It's just not good for anybody. But it is what it is.
Well, hopefully we get the news earlier rather than later. But these in-day downgrades are just so much of the time that the guy's out. And the weirdest part, though, it also makes them great tournament plays, because if they play, even if we get word in advance, people just aren't going to play them. But it's still Trae Young who could go nuts. But he was going to be low owned today anyway, so. He's an interesting tournament play at best, I feel like. Let's get into it. What's the first game we got here? Brooklyn and Washington?
So the first game I have is just right out of the gate is Brooklyn, Washington, 235 total and a 2-point spread. So it would seem to be something you'd want to get into. So I guess right off the bat, Bradley Beal is one of, I guess, 4 or 5 plays that all look really, really solid. Not solid, I would just say that all have just incredible ceilings that can put up 60-plus fantasy points, between him and Luka and Harden and Westbrook and Trae, just off the top of my head at that position. And he's certainly in play to do that. They're playing Brooklyn, and Brooklyn's fine. I mean, it's not like they're just the worst defense ever, but it doesn't even matter with Beal anyway. So he certainly rates to be someone you could put in your pool of people that you want to get in. Now, if you want to prioritize him, that I think becomes a question of ownership. And right now, it looks like he's rating to be one of the lower owned of those guys.
Weird,
So
huh?
if he does come in at like 10% or something like that, then he's going to be you're just going to have to play him.
But you know what's going to happen, though. If Trey is out, you know how this is going to work. That makes the other guards the chalk in that game, which is then going to load the guard position up and make Bradley Beal much more popular because he says small forward eligibility.
Yeah, they took away his small forward eligibility a few games ago.
Right back.
They gave it back to him. Well, did you see? You weren't here. You weren't around yesterday. Did you play at all yesterday?
No, I didn't touch it. It was my daughter's birthday.
Do you know that LeBron James was only point guard eligible?
Oh, really? It's actually as much as he plays every position, it probably is appropriate at this point. The guy leads the league in assists. If you're going to pigeonhole all these other guys at the wrong positions, like Taurean Prince and all those guys, may as well get him at the wrong position.
Well, how do you like this? Skipping ahead for just a second. Kawhi Leonard and Paul George in the same game, the same starting lineup. Only one of them is a small forward. Like they're both small forward only eligible.
It's so silly. I mean, let's get it together, Draftkings. Come on, you guys are great to us, but like, come on, let's get real. But
so as it stands now, like you said, the small forward eligibility is big. I think you're right. I think he's got to garner ownership just based on that. But nonetheless, I mean, he certainly has a ceiling, as he's shown every day, and low spread. It's fine. I don't like anybody else on Washington. On Brooklyn, yeah, I mean, at some point, LeVert's got to be priced higher than Dinwiddie, he's not now. He's 7,500 compared to 8K for Dinwiddie. If I had to pick between the two of them, I actually do think that even though he's 7,500, that LeVert would be a better play. But now Dinwiddie's going to be the 5% owned guy. You know what I mean? Like in this stack, if you want.
I don't think so. I think Dinwiddie is going to be who everybody goes to.
Oh, well, screw that, man. I just figured that LeVert would rate higher, so Dinwiddie would be like a lower owned guy. If you want to, so I would play one of the two if I'm going to stack the game, one of the two, but not both. And I would go with the lower owned guy, whoever that would be. So I got to work on my ownership looks for a second. There are other three guys you could play here. So Taurean Prince, who I know you like to play a lot, and I kind of play him too usually when you do. And Joe Harris, both of them look to be like pretty decent plays. I would only play one of them again. If I were going to stack this, I think they take each other's usage away a little bit from each other, just for the shots. And another thing, which, we're going to get into a little later, but the center position becomes a very, very interesting point of reference for this slate on DraftKings, especially because a lot of people are going to be plugging in Pirtle as the center, but you still are allowed to get a second center. And if you want to go that route and avoid all those other guards and wings are going to look good and take a second center, they're better plays than Jared Allen. But what that means is that he's going to be just infinitesimally owned. And if you can get him with like 25 minutes or 26 minutes against this Washington team, he certainly has a ceiling that can really, if you get a 40 out of him even, you could be in business, especially if other people are going to be, playing higher owned guys as a second center. So I don't know if I have it in me to do a straight pivot, like fade Pirtle and go to Allen or something like that. I think Pirtle's going to be hard to fade. We'll get to him later. But I think Allen, as we talked about a little bit before the show, could be a very interesting, first of all, part of a stack. We could take, kill two birds with one stone. You could stack exposure and you get a real low owned, person at a position where no one's gonna play him.
Right. I agree. I'm gonna have some exposure. I don't feel as high on him tonight, just because I think there's other play. Again, we have the center, like you mentioned with Pirtle, and then there's other center plays, and there's a lot of guards that I want to use. So I don't really want to use my utility. It's a little tricky, even though just in a vacuum, his upside is monstrous in this spot against Washington. And I was into him the other night because I thought they might have to play bigger against Orlando, and obviously he had a nice night coming off 35 and 40, and he's going to be unowned. So definitely interesting. But I think the interest in this game definitely for me starts at just obviously with Beal. And then I have a lot of interest in Taurean Prince. I don't think we've seen anywhere near the games anything near a ceiling game from him in a long time. And I know he still has it in him. I mean, he's at 4,600 in what is the absolute nut matchup. You look at these teams he's played lately: Orlando, Charlotte, Philadelphia, Toronto, Indiana, Toronto. Slow. Go blow out Golden State. those are all games that he didn't even the run he gets it's just not as effective. This is the ceiling matchup. This is the time I would encourage people to take some shots with Prince. Right now, I've got him, at reasonable ownership actually early in the day, and that's my biggest interest on the other side. But I do like Levert. I would prefer him slightly over Dinwiddie. I actually don't mind Dinwiddie as much as I usually do, just because I like the matchup so much. But I do like Levert. He would be my second priority. But mostly it's going to be Beal and Prince for me. And even though, like I said, I just don't know how I'm going to end up getting to Jared Allen. Maybe I'll end up just trying to make a full stack here because this game could go off like we've seen with Washington. But yeah, like you, I don't have any interest on the Washington side and anyone else, except for maybe you could take a flyer on Davis Bertans. But that's pretty much it for me. I mean, if Hachimura was a little cheaper maybe, but I think for now it's really just those two on Washington, and then Taurean Prince followed by Levert, Dinwiddie, and Joe Harris in that order. Joe Harris is actually not like a super amazing fun play, but this is the kind of matchup with a team that gives up as many threes and plays this fast, where he could easily end up in the 30s somewhere. Maybe not enough to win on this slate, but still definitely a guy worth considering. That's pretty much where I'm at in this game.
Yeah, a couple of other things just to throw it out there. This is hottest guy on the team. The Nets is playing against one of the teams he's played for in the past. So it is what it is.
No, I mean, it's worth noting. It's hard for me to figure out how to get him in, especially using up. Yeah. Like, he's a guard. He's a forward eligible. I mean, it's just not the minutes haven't been up. He's been shooting the ball well. He's been playing well. Yeah, I guess I'm multi-entering, so he'll probably end up in a lineup or two of mine, but not someone I'm going to prioritize.
Yeah, I mean, again, I don't know if I'm going to get to Jared Allen either. I have other just worse center plays that I might end up playing, which we're going to get to. Mm-hmm. But if I'm going to stack the game again, I probably would want to get some cheap, on the cheap side. So maybe either a Harris, Temple, or Prince, along with maybe a Jared Allen or Levert. Again, I don't want to play too many of them either. So I don't know. We'll see what happens.
Yeah, and I just want to say, if you're going to stack this game, the way I would do it, I think you can use up to 3 players on Brooklyn.
Okay.
Kind of matchup, but I probably wouldn't play Dinwiddie and Levert together on this slate. But I do think Levert with Prince, and if you wanted to throw in even a Harris you could still play him, either a Harris or a Jared Allen. I think that's an interesting way to go. I just don't think I'm going to end up doing much of it, but if this is a game that you're really drawn to, that might be a good way to go.
All right, so New York, Charlotte, you were lucky enough to miss Rozier and Malik Monk chalk destruction night last night. I don't know if you were familiar with what happened, but
they got blown out by 5,000 points.
Yeah, but what happened was Devontae Graham, about half hour before lock or an hour before lock, said that he was going to be playing off the bench and he wasn't going to be starting. And then subsequently after that, they just announced he wasn't playing.
Right.
So Malik Monk, they announced him starting, and he was like 55% owned everywhere. And Terry Rozier ended up being a zillion % owned everywhere. And Malik Monk was awful. And what's his name? Rozier was like 3 for 15 from the field. And they even gave him the shot to get there in garbage time, and he still couldn't do it. It was a disaster. So, it's like one of those games where at first glance, everybody was like, all right, we're getting rid of the Charlotte Indiana game. No one's playing. And then all of a sudden, Devontae Graham, this thing happened. And it ended up being like the chalkiest spots on the slate.
Devontae Graham out tonight?
No, he is playing tonight.
Oh, I thought we announced him as out earlier in the message I saw. Okay, thanks. Keep going.
Yeah, I thought he was playing. So Charlotte is just they're really bad, and they're also really slow. So here's where I'm coming up with this Knick game, right? So I like Julius Randle in principle. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? I think that Charlotte has no answers for him. I think that he could destroy them. Just don't know if they're going to get enough possessions and the game's going to be fast enough. I just don't know if at that price he's got enough of a ceiling, you know what I mean, at this type of a game to garner my 8,800 or whatever the hell he is, or 8,400 with other guys that I want to get to. That's my only problem here. He certainly looks like, from the matchup perspective, he looks fine, but I just don't know if I'm going to do it. On Charlotte, here's my thing. They got blown up by 100 last night, with all these guys being just these 2 guys being really chalky, and everybody was really, really bad. I mean, I do think that, at least psychologically, I do think that coming off of what could have been a combination of a benching and a workload thing with Devontae Graham, And I do think he comes out playing today. You know what I mean? I do think that he has a good game, for whatever that's worth, and it is a close spread. So I do think that if he's ready to go, I mean, he hasn't done anything in like a while. Like he hasn't made a shot since like the Eisenhower administration. But he's literally like just that kind of guy, as far as I'm concerned, that on a ridiculous 9-game slate with a lot of other options, that at like 2% or something like that, he might be able to blow up. And in that vein, I mean, if you're really, really gross, you could go right back with Terry Rozier at 5,800. I don't know if I even have it in me to do that, but I would consider Devontae Graham. I would try PJ Washington maybe again. I know this is a really gross game to go after with all this other stuff, but it is a close spread, so these minutes are probably going to be pretty secure with these guys. And so I think that Devontae Graham would actually be kind of an interesting GPP play.
Yeah, I get it. I didn't realize at first. I actually do like him a little bit. You mentioned it. I don't mind the Rozier thing either. I think these are Deaners. They're 10 percenters for me. Okay. I really do like I think somebody gets there in this game. And I honestly think that even if Graham is playing, if we're really going to think Monk plays 30 minutes, I'm interested. Like it's not.
That'd be the ultimate, and it would be the ultimate troll, right? I mean, he failed at 57% ownership at 4,600. Yeah. And now he hit 5,200. He gets 40 points.
Yeah. So I'm not saying go crazy with him, but you can dean him. You can play 10% of him. I mean, this thing, somebody's going to get there. I think PJ Washington is my priority of anybody I'm playing. I will play I would be willing to play about 20% of PJ Washington. I feel really comfortable with him. I don't think they're going to get blown out the way they did the other day. You should see Washington in games that have been, the 2 games that have been reasonable, the 2 other games that are the 40-point blowout. He put up 33 and 35, 34. The odds, if the game stays reasonable yesterday, he probably puts up 25 in his. Well, actually, yeah. Change his price. He's just too cheap, is basically what I'm saying. He's going to put up a score you're going to be happy with, I think, well enough of the time in this spot. So he's the guy I would lean towards. And I don't mind Miles Bridges, even though he is 6K. Again, another guy deaning.
Yeah.
And I like Julius Randle. I like him. Isn't he cheaper over on FanDuel? I mean,
yeah, he's not bad. He's like 76 on FanDuel.
Yeah, so he's going to be monster chalk over there, but probably like pretty low owned over here. I think it's a great spot for him.
Yeah.
I'll take a quick look and just see what he did against Charlotte, because there's been some of these matchups where I think he was like smashing in one and then just didn't do anything the rest of the game. He didn't do much the last time they played. But I still see, the matchup is still good for him, even though it's a slowed down pace. And other than him, I honestly don't think you can play anybody else you can. I don't see why you would play anyone else on this side of the ball, on the Knicks side of the ball, unless you somehow, who's probably going to play, was somehow announced out. Maybe you could take that wild card flyer on DSJ again, just because he just proved us last time out. It doesn't matter if he hasn't played any minutes. It doesn't matter what happens. He might just pop in for 40 fantasy points here and there, and he did it the other day. So he
had 7 steals.
Yeah, but it doesn't matter. I don't care. We just know he has a ceiling, and he's cheap and unknown. I'm only mentioning him if they announce Peyton's out, and even then, you don't want to go crazy with it. The only guy I'm really putting in my script is Julius Randle.
Yeah, he had actually a very pedestrian game against Charlotte last time they played. Oh my God, look at this score last time they played at Charlotte, 97-92.
I know.
Oh my God.
Not a beautiful game to target.
Yeah, I think fortunately, I'm not going to play enough lineups where I get to these guys. We'll see. We'll see what happens.
Okay, let's move on.
Right. So Philly, Cleveland. I am of the opinion that somebody else sits this game. I don't know who or what or why.
We know Drummond's out, right?
We know that Drummond is out?
They announced he's out just about 10 minutes ago.
Drummond was out 10 minutes ago. Okay. Well, why was he out, by the way?
I actually didn't read the reason he was out. It's an interesting difference, though, because I don't know. In a funny way, it actually makes me like Embiid a little bit less.
Oh, he's nursing a strained left calf.
Yeah, whatever nonsense.
Well, thank God he's out, because that's who I was playing.
Yeah, he's had big games against Embiid before.
I was gonna play him, and I'm gonna go through my logic, even though he's not playing. So my logic behind playing him, because talk this through, is he's being priced down because he's played no minutes, right, since this coach took over. He's actually played no fourth quarter minutes since this coach took over. And however, in both of those games, they had the exact same pattern in that this other unit was in and making a run, and they just let that whole unit run right through the fourth quarter in both games. And Love and Drummond were both sitting on the bench for both of those. And so I was going to play under the assumption that under a 2% own presumption that if that didn't happen, Drummond just got normal minutes, he would just be at 7,700, just a tremendous play. However, he's out. So enough of that. So I was under the impression, again, that I had a feeling that it's possible that one of these other Philly guys sits.
By the way, I was going to throw out that I was going to bet you that I was going to tell you that what I was going to do is, as a real pivot, I would have given Drummond versus Embiid a shot. You know what I mean?
Yeah, right.
I mean, that's just something people aren't going to do with Poto right there. Like,
right. But I think that I have this feeling that they might want to they might rest somebody because they could. And now that Drummond's out too, I mean, that they could probably handle this game, but they can't ever win on the road. They got to get this win. Their record on the road is just abysmal. I mean, any win that they could get, I guess they just have to go for it. So maybe they can't even afford to rest anybody, even with Drummond out. So all these guys are just going to be good again. I mean, Horford, Harris, Embiid, Richardson, and I think I could play. You know, I could play a couple of them if you want to know the truth. They all look pretty good, and I don't think I'm going to go with Alec Burks or Milton or Robinson or Korkmaz or anything like that. But I do like these. You know, any of those Philadelphia guys, they are looking pretty good. I guess they're going to get ownership again, but you know, that's that. And Cleveland, I got to tell you, this was a really awesome take, and you know what? I didn't pass it along. It was just some random guy who I was talking to online before the last game, saying that this new coach actually came out and said that he's a real big Kevin Porter fan and was going to make sure that he played, and he did, and he freaking killed it the other day.
I'm going to go on a little rant about Porter after we're done talking about.
Okay, and so I just want to just whine to myself about that. I might have had him in like. What'd you say? I might have. Do I deemed him? Do you deem? Is it a verb or a noun?
He's a 10%er.
So is he a deaner? So it's a noun. It's not like you don't dean a guy. He's
no,
a deaner.
No. It's something that I actually started at.
Oh, I know, but is it used more as a noun or an adjective, like or a verb? Do you dean somebody by playing at 10%, or is he a deaner because you play him at 10%?
No, you could. I have both. Either way works.
Interesting.
First, yeah.
When your name like gets used as like a verb or an adjective in a semi-pejorative way, I don't know, man. You got issues, but it's all right. So I guess we have to talk about Tristan Thompson then, no?
I don't need to talk about him too much.
Okay.
I don't think that, you know, we mentioned other 5,300 plays. It's not like even in these spots that he always blew up, even without Embiid. You also have Zizic, who's going to get some minutes. They're going to play Love, and I mean, they can play Nance a little bit. Like,
you sure?
They'll play 30 minutes. There's just a lot of guys spread out. I actually do have interest in these. I like Kevin Porter so Kevin Porter is a guy who might have been a top 3 guy or whatever. I don't even know where they ended up drafting. I can't remember off the top of my head. But he was one of the most talented players in the draft, and he fell back because of personality issues. Now, I don't care about personality issues, especially once the new coach shows that you're like they're into you. They're not going to sit you for anything. I don't expect him to put up 51 again, but I mean he's at 5,100. He could easily put up 35 here. He could put up even bigger than that. This is a spot where maybe we're seeing the turning of the Cavs offense over to the Porter and Garland, and not so much Sexton. I think it might be happening a little bit. I think it's sort of going to be trading off with those guys. But I'm excited. I'm interested in playing Porter, even as much as double deaning him at 20%. Sorry, I'll stop with the deans, but I just think it's just kind of funny to me. The other guy I like, though, that no one's going to play is Kevin Love. I don't really understand, with everybody playing all these guys from Philly, that there's nobody going to have like even 5% ownership on the other side. So if you're going to play a couple Philly guys, and I'll get to the guys I really like in a minute, how come Kevin Love is not in the mix? Like, he just put up.
I agree with you 100%.
Doesn't make sense.
I think that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, why would, and also Drummond being out, that should help him too, theoretically. More rebounds to go around, and you're going to play, you know, some of Embiid, Harris, Horford, Richardson. The guy who I'm way higher on than the others is Richardson. I don't feel like I need to play the other ones. Yeah, that's where I'm at. Richardson's my favorite one, and I think he's going to run more of the offense. We've seen the Cavs get destroyed by guards all year. So I'm leaning him, followed by a tie with Embiid and Harris, and then Horford is the least interesting of the bunch to me. Don't think I'm going to get to the other guys today, but I don't mind if you want to run a little mini stack with a Richardson and one of the other, maybe Richardson, Harris, and then run it back with either Porter or Love. I don't think it's a bad way to go on this slate. I know it's not an exciting game, but because of the condensed usage in Philly, if you're going to play a couple of those guys, it's probably worth it to run it back with some of these guys who have upside. Even Darius Garland, by the way. This Philly team's defense is not as good without Ben Simmons, not even close, even though they're still solid. We can say what we will about, Garland just put up 36 in the last game. How did every Cav go nuts in the last game?
Went to overtime.
Oh, okay. I mean, but even still, that shouldn't explain. They go to double overtime?
I'm not sure.
There's a lot in there. And I just want to point out that Darius Garland, while everyone always sort of stalks at me for playing him, he's shown that the occasional 40 fantasy point upside. He's hit 35 a number of times, and he's been consistently at 25 or 20 plus for a while. He doesn't have a huge amount of risk because of the minutes, even though I guess he could have a terrible game once in a blue moon, but it's just a guy no one ever plays that you can get low ownership on. Maybe if you find that your lineup's chalky, maybe playing a guy like Garland over a guy like Richardson. I know the prices are a little different, but it might be an interesting way to go.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to do a little more digging on the Tristan Thompson thing. I kind of need to be talked off him a little bit now.
Really? Okay. I'm gonna have to.
Yeah, I don't know. I just when you say Kevin Love's gonna give me, I mean they gotta have someone to guard Embiid. No, I mean.
Yeah, but Zizic can.
Zizic? It's time for Zizic? I mean,
he's going to play 10 minutes.
Okay.
Larry Nance will probably play another 10 at the center.
The thing is that we have no idea what this idiot's going to do anyway. So.
Yeah, I mean, sure, we're speculating on. It is interesting that he's gotten some of the important run down the stretch anyway. So maybe you're right. Maybe I don't know. I blew off. I actually think that maybe he is more in play than I initially thought. It's a good call either way. I think it does make sense. It's worth speculating on. Anyway,
it was just a gut reaction at first when you told me Drummond was out. I'm like, okay, Thompson 50% ownership, but then I'm like looking, I'm like,
Yeah, there's no way that'll happen.
All right, so let's go on to the 37th Jimmy Butler revenge game, I think. So Minnesota at Miami. All right, it's not in Minnesota or whatever, but Minnesota. When is the Butler TJ Warren game?
Butler TJ Warren?
Don't you remember? There's
because that's the thing.
Yeah,
I don't know if I want to go anywhere near that personally.
Oh, it's gonna be.
That
it's
feels
gonna
like
be all the rage
all day. It doesn't feel.
It's gonna be all the rage. I'm telling you. We'll see. Anyway, so first of all, I guess look at Miami first. If Butler plays, I like Butler. And if Butler doesn't play, I really think that Bam could be one of those centers I talked about. I don't know if I could play Bam with Butler at 9K, but if Butler is out, I'm certainly making Bam, I don't want to say priority, but definitely a short list of guys I want to play.
Mm-hmm.
And again, if Butler does play, I do like Butler a lot. And I guess that would be it. On Minnesota, it's rough out there, man. I don't know. I really not too big of a fan of anybody in this game. I mean, Russell, Beasley, I don't know. Just nobody seemed too exciting to me.
Yeah, it's not a great matchup for that side of the ball. I really am trying to find anybody because I've been trying to play some of these Timberwolves. I just can't find anybody that I can really play. Just sort of where I'm at tonight. It's weird because I like Beasley every night. So I think Beasley always has upside. If there's one guy to take a chance on, that probably would be it. Maybe Naz Reid if it wasn't that center position. And then I agree with you. I like Butler if he plays. I like Bam if he doesn't. And I still don't know how much Bam you can really get. And I don't mind the price on Bam. People might look at the price and go, oh, but that's a fair – if Butler's out, that's a very fair price actually in this matchup for Bam. He could put up 70. I mean, he could absolutely – he should dominate this team like insane. I mean, you got a 20-year-old not Naz Reid and a 75-year-old James Johnson trying to guard him. It's going to be tricky. And you might see a triple-double type of game out of Bam if Butler is out. But I assume Butler probably will play, in which case I like him. Not one of my favorite overall plays in the slate, but I do think he's a good play.
Well, I mean, I would be remiss if I didn't mention that is James Johnson not going back to Miami?
Yeah, but I mean,
No big deal.
it's not like he's a star or anything. Like,
Okay.
I mean,
But he's got a tattoo on his neck.
he's not even really a gunner. He's a good basketball player, a guy who I've always liked, but I just don't think. I mean, if he was like 3K, I'd play him, but I'm not going to play 5,300 for him.
All right, very good. Okay, Orlando against Atlanta. Anybody else missed? I missed anybody?
No, I don't think so.
All right, Orlando and Atlanta. So it's interesting. You know, this is like those football games a few years ago when you had DeAndre Hopkins going against the Jacksonville defense, right? It's like where's the matchup matter and where does it not matter? You have like, assuming Trae Young plays for a second, you have a guy who's matchup proof against a team that just gives up nothing. You know, so it's going to be an interesting battle if in fact that he plays. I mean, Orlando is where fantasy points go to die, and yet on the other hand, Atlanta is where fantasy points go to thrive. So you want to think about playing guys from Orlando and maybe fading guys from Atlanta. It's kind of screwed up. And now with this news that Trae is questionable, I mean, I'd like to think that means he's trending towards doubtful, I guess. You know what I mean? If they put it out here, I don't know. I mean, you definitely have to wait and see. But I guess we can talk a little bit in what ifs. You know, like if in fact he's out, then as you were saying, you know, Teague would be the natural guy you'd want to put in, and for me, Brandon Goodwin would be the next guy. But Teague certainly has secured his role as the second point guard over there, so he would certainly be a guy you'd have to play. And then, I mean, anybody else from Atlanta, if Trae were out, I mean, then do you have to go do stuff like Cam Reddish or Herder or somebody like that? I don't know. I mean, I guess we just have to wait and see what projections adjust if in fact he's out. But those are guys you'd have to watch for. If he's in, I certainly think he's, you know, even though it's against Orlando, it's just another one of those guys like Beal and Harden and Luka and Westbrook that have big ceilings that you have to make a decision on. And if he's a guy that is going to be now even lower owned maybe because of his questionable tag, you know, maybe he's a good play. So he's certainly someone, if he plays, that you have to consider. Orlando, here's another center. I mean, now you got Vooch at 9,500 against a team that can't guard centers. And yeah, you have, you know, other guys like him, but he's another guy to throw in there. I mean, is he going to be really low owned? Maybe he has a shot. The only other guy that I would think from Orlando, again, do I just think would benefit from this matchup, if in fact Trae plays and they're not guarding anybody, maybe, I don't know, maybe Markelle Fultz. And he looks really expensive, I guess, at 5,900, but I guess he would be active enough where he can get to the rim and do whatever. For whatever reason, one of the sites is I'm seeing James Ennis popping.
So he's the only person I like on the Orlando side.
Ennis?
Yeah.
Okay, so tell me about him. What's going on with him?
So look, he played 27 minutes in the last game. This team, don't forget Orlando, they're in the playoff spot right now, so they're playing to win every game. James Ennis is a solid contributor, role player that's going to play between 20 and 30, and he has the upside of 30 minutes. He genuinely does in this matchup. A guy like him against Atlanta who doesn't try to create his own shot very much, but can sort of do all the other things. There's steal upside, there's block upside, there's rebound upside, there is scoring upside. I think at 3.4, and what I like, again, I'm just going to keep reiterating this part, he is small forward eligible. Yeah. Because if what happens, we think happens, and Trae is out and everybody plays, you know, the combination of the cheap center in Podol, the cheap point guard in Teague, and then you're going to want to get some value somewhere else that's lower owned. To me, that would be a guy like Ennis is on the board for that, at least at small forward. I don't feel like amazing about him. I just think he's the most – I don't like anybody on Orlando in this game.
Now, I would like to say I did this on purpose, but in this kind of shell lineup, I had a small forward left and 3,500 to spend.
There you go.
So we're putting this in, and then we're going to do something different.
Oh, my God. We got Josh Jackson back in our lives.
Just in case. Yeah, we're going to get to him.
Yeah, I know. Seriously.
We're going to get to him in a second. So, so again, the Markelle Fultz, again, that was just more of an instinct thing. It doesn't project well or anything like that. But
yeah, I do want to say one thing about Orlando that's interesting.
Yeah.
We probably should be keeping an eye out even at these high prices. So Aaron Gordon actually turned into the guy who we thought Aaron Gordon like always could be over the last few weeks.
Well, it's freaking slam dunk game revenge.
No, sure, and that was my call after the break. And it's true. Like, but you look at it even before that. I mean, so since the beginning of February, he's averaging 44 fantasy points a game. This is from a guy who literally hadn't put up more than 30 something in like a month. He had one game outside over 38 or something in a month.
Yeah, he's been doing awesome.
3 months. So he's been great. I just think like he wouldn't surprise me if he had a big game tonight. Maybe if you're mass multi-entry, you could throw him into a lineup because this matchup does suit him. But there's just better plays in the slate, I think. But I don't want to leave him out because he definitely could go out there and put up 50 plus.
Not only that, and just again, I'm just eyeballing this, but in these games, he had 45 points against the slowest team in the world, in Charlotte. Then he had 47 against Boston. The other time he had 45, okay, fine, that was Atlanta. Then another time he had 54 against Detroit, who's one of the usually slow-paced teams. And then a Brooklyn one. So it's not like he's been getting this done against the Pelicans every night. You know what I mean? Like he's been doing it in real matchups.
Right. No, absolutely. And, also another guy who's been playing extremely well, way off the radar, like no one's paying attention to. And again, I'm not going to play him on this slate in this matchup, but in this game, DeAndre Hunter has been playing and in real life basketball, in addition to actually being really solid fantasy production for his price. These are just, we talked about trying to do things a little bit different. So rather than just saying the plays on the slate, just the little trends to look out for. DeAndre Hunter might be guys like him or Porter. These guys are 19, 20 years old. Garland's 19 years old. These guys, when they find their stride, if we should really try and jump on that, we should try and be ahead of the curve on that. I'm not saying we load up on them every night, but I'm saying taking shots on guys like that is so much more appealing than taking shots on James Johnson, maybe not in a revenge game, but James Johnson in a normal game or somebody like that. That's why I was much more on the Naz Reid side when that whole situation first happened. I would rather give a shot to these 20-year-olds who are going to get their chances and who are going to take shots. They're going to make mistakes, but if they're allowed to play through it, they're going to have a bigger chance. That's partly even a better argument for your guy Goodwin over Teague. I don't even have Goodwin on my player pool right now, but just keep looking at that as the season progresses. The teams that aren't playing for anything are really going to see their young guys, and I think DeAndre Hunter is going to play 35 minutes a night, and you're going to start seeing him shoot the ball. Maybe actually, if Trey's out, he might actually be more in play, just because shots have to go somewhere. So I'm actually going to throw a little 1 to 5% on Hunter, just to make sure I have a little bit of him.
Okay. All right. So I alluded to this before. So Memphis against Houston. So Memphis, like everybody over 6'7" is out, right? So Brandon Clark is out. Jaren Jackson is out. So you have two big guys. You have Dieng and Valanciunas. And then you have a power forward in Josh Jackson at 4,500. And you have this crazy matchup with Houston that, that's what it is for everybody now. It's just kind of a crazy matchup, and you just don't know what to do. On the one hand, you'd think that they would somehow find a way to get Valanciunas his minutes, and just he could probably get 40 fantasy points in the first half if they decided they wanted to go that route. But it doesn't seem like that's what they're going to do. Dieng certainly looks like a decent play, but the two guys all these guys. So let's talk about this. So Josh Jackson is going to probably be somewhat chalky.
You really think that?
That's what I would think, but we'll see.
What minutes do you have him projected at? Because I got him projected at 25 minutes.
I have him at like 27 minutes.
At 4,500, that's not like a gimme.
No, it's not. We'll see. We'll see how it goes.
Okay.
But I do like him. I mean, I do like him here. And then the other two guys also from this game from Memphis, like you could play Morant if you want. He's a little, I won't say expensive, but he's fine. And D'Anthony Melton's going to look to be decent value again. But the guy I kind of like, if I had to pick one, if you want to, Dylan Brooks has kind of had a little trouble shooting the ball. So what he needs is a situation where he could kind of get a lot of shots off in a shooting gun format where he just gets threes and threes and threes and threes. I think this could be a decent opportunity for him to do that. So I do think that, he's definitely disappointed a lot of people recently. I don't know where he is on FanDuel. If he's still 41 on FanDuel, I mean, that'd be amazing.
Yeah, I made one. I made a mock lineup for the alley-oop, or just to get it reserved, and he was in that lineup on FanDuel.
Yeah. So I guess I've hedged out all this Memphis, but I guess that means is that I do like to play a bunch of these guys, you know, and I think this could be an interesting game to stack. And yeah, I mean, you could say that Houston's an 11-point favorite, so you know, blowout risk. But as you mentioned in the last couple of slates, Houston's kind of funny, man. Like it's never that easy. They sometimes just don't blow teams out, and sometimes these guys get run in that fourth quarter anyway. So I have no problem taking a shot at some of this Memphis stuff. And on the Houston side, I mean, I'll let you tell me which one to do. I mean, I honestly could go either way between Harden and Westbrook. And I'd probably pick one of them and play some Memphis guys. I think it's one build that you could definitely make.
Yeah, it's just to start. I'm starting sort of reverse here. I just start with Houston.
Yeah.
I actually think like Covington makes a lot of sense, but he really feels more like a cashy play than a tournament play. He's not hasn't really had that ceiling-ish game. But some of these other guys, I would probably give Westbrook the slight edge over Harden in this matchup. The main reason being that in a really, really fast-paced matchup where it's sort of a mano-a-mano type of guy and a young rookie, Westbrook just was getting pissed off at Klay Thompson, who is out for the season the other night. Anybody who actually is going to try and take it at him, what do you think he's going to respond like? How do you think he's going to handle that? He's going to absolutely go nuts. Absolutely, especially against a team with no rim protection whatsoever. Let's go with Westbrook. I think he's the guy in this game if you're going to make that play. Now there's better plays in a similar price range, which we'll get to in a minute. But he's a guy who you're looking at to me over Harden slightly. But look, could Harden go out there and score 80 fantasy points? 100%. So I want exposure to both. I'll be ahead of the field on both because I like the matchup. I also don't always trust him to blow everybody out. I do like all of these possible run backs, but what I find myself doing is sort of like hedging everybody. I sort of have everybody in that 15% range. But I include one guy who you didn't mention, and I don't think anybody's going to play. So what if the reverse happens finally in one of these situations? Now, Houston's been controlling all of these games and have been pretty incredible as long as Westbrook's been in since they've done this. I think they've only lost one game. But at some point, a really skilled, talented big man who's going to be starting, it feels like the kind of night where Joe Val puts up like 25 in the first quarter. And sure, maybe he only ends up with 40, but that feels like what this night might be. Because Joe Val should – I mean, if he's going to play 28 minutes, it's not like Rudy Gobert where he's just a rebounder. This guy's a post player. He's not easy to guard. He should be considered in tournaments here. But you could also make the argument that him and Gorgie could be you just ignore the big men and just try and find the other guys they'll play. I honestly don't know who that is. And they're still pretty deep. They're going to get some Jordan Bell minutes tonight too, which doesn't make me as thrilled. I'm sort of with you on the best play probably being Dylan Brooks, followed by I like Ja actually. I don't mind him. Westbrook, he's baby Westbrook. That's what they called him. That's what they called him in high school. This is a matchup. It's like not must see TV for me, but it's one I'm definitely going to be watching tonight. I like the Ja versus Westbrook back and forth, but I don't love anybody on Memphis, but I think I have interest because of the game flow, the game environment, in all of them just a little bit. I'm not as high on Josh Jackson at this price, but I could easily end up regretting that because this is a situation that suits him perfecly.
Is he 35? Is he 3,500 on FanDuel? I'm just guessing.
Yeah.
Is he really?
Yeah, I think he is. Yeah, 35 on FanDuel, where he will be owned, and he'll have no ownership on DraftKings.
Okay. Just so you know, I did mention it. That I just wanted to make sure I wasn't hallucinating with Valanciunas. I mean, again, I do think that there's a route if Memphis decides to go this way that he could score 40 fantasy points in the first half. You know,
I totally agree with that.
You know, I just don't. I don't know what to do with these Houston games. So one other guy, if you want like kind of a super sneaky another 3,500 guy, is from the other side is Ben McLemore. Yeah,
that's a good.
I would try him. He did play for Memphis also. Little something.
Yeah, I keep expecting PJ Tucker to have a big game in one of these spots, and he never is doing it. I don't know. I'm just sort of thinking out loud here. Maybe just scratch that last part. It is interesting. This is like the fewest minutes we've had PJ Tucker. He's been playing less minutes since they started going to this small ball, which is really weird, isn't it? Yeah,
they use him as needed, I guess.
But that's bizarre. He was playing 40-plus minutes a game, and it looked like that was going to go up because he's their center. I guess now they're going to call Jeff Green your center, and your other center, the guy who should be just point guard center eligible is Russell Westbrook. Because he's the one who guards Gobert, apparently. Anyway, definitely a good game, but again, like most Memphis games, hard to find where to target on the Memphis side. I think Westbrook is the better play on the Houston side, but I do like Harden as well.
You know, you can get like 2 studs in these builds like really easily. I'm just kind of looking at this.
That's what I'm looking at. That's what I'm looking at doing right now.
I mean, I just for the hell of it, I just ran Westbrook with Josh Jackson and Dylan Brooks, and then I also kept my Luka and DeRozan, and because Pirtle is just so freaking cheap, he just opens up the freaking world. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, and we're getting to that one right now, I guess.
Yeah. So Dallas against San Antonio. On the Dallas side, for me, it's just Luka. You could try to talk me into that. Kristaps is awesome now, and you don't have to worry about him playing with Luka, but maybe on a different slate for me. I just think it's Luka or nobody. And on San Antonio, unfortunately, I'm not going to be able to fade either of these guys with Aldridge out. DeRozan and Total both. Where the hell does the R come from anyway? I just can't even see it. Pirtle. I don't understand some of these pronunciations. So I don't understand Kleba, and I don't understand Pirtle, and they're both coming from the same freaking name. So DeRozan and Pirtle just look like kind of locks with Aldridge out, and I just don't think I'm fading either of them. Again, you want to try stuff like Rudy Gay or Trey Lyles again? Sure, I'll let you talk me into that, I guess. But Rudy Gay's 3,300. Good God. Trey Lyles, is that what I ended up doing? Am I going to end up screwing up by playing too much of these 2 guys? We'll see. But I do think DeRozan and Pirtle are just kind of unavoidable. So Luka from Dallas, DeRozan, Pirtle from San Antonio, and that's pretty much it for me.
Just want to point one thing out for the argument, and I'm not going to be doing it mostly, but the argument for fading Pirtle, if you're going to do it, is that you don't need size against Dallas. Again, I'm still going to play him, but you really don't need any size against this team. So it could end up going to a guy like Lyles. So if the few lineups that I do fade Pirtle in, that's sort of the route I'll go. Also, Jeff Teague, if he ends up starting and we get no Trae Young, you could sort of maybe think play him. Obviously, you can play him with Pirtle, but you can potentially look at pivoting elsewhere. I would have a lot more interest in some of these other pieces in this game, or I feel like I should, is what it is. I like DeJounte Murray. He sort of keeps popping off the page for me. So where I'm not going to play DeRozan, I don't mind playing him. They really did give him the minutes outside of that game against OKC, which is I'm just throwing that one out. He's been like unbelievable, and he's shown that ceiling in minutes a little bit. I mean, at least he played 34 the other night against Utah, and this is a really good matchup for him. I'm into taking a shot there when I don't think many people are going to play him at 5,900. And, you know, it's a guy we're used to seeing his projected minutes at 24, 26. He's at 29. There's obviously upside on that. I think he's an interesting play. And I actually think that I could say this about all the guards for San Antonio. Every one of them deserves consideration. Will I end up really realistically getting to Patty Mills and Derek White? Probably not. But there's an outside chance that maybe I'll throw them into a lineup or two. It's just not where they all make sense. It's just there's better plays at cheap prices. So why do we need to save here? Because and then again, with Pirtle, I'm going to be ahead of the field. In my script, I might be below what the field is projected at. But that's only because it's the smaller buy-ins. I'm going to take a shot that somehow the game plays a different way. And there's other value that I like on this slate. But yeah, it's Pirtle, DeRozan, and then DeJounte Murray for me. And heavy on Pirtle and DeRozan, just like you. On the other side, I mean, like, you have to – like, I just think Luka's the best spend up on the slate. I don't really have any argument for anybody else. I can't really see him having a massive fail game that's going to kill you. The only problem is there's a lot of guys in his price range that could crush, and that, you know, at 60 might not be enough because of that. But at 10.3, I just really don't see how you don't play him. And honestly, I think that he's more of a priority for me than like DeRozan is. He's the guy I'm spending up for mostly. And you can, like you said, you can do it with 2 guys. You can play him and Westbrook. I don't really see the reason to play anybody else in Dallas except for Porzingis, who I think has finally gotten back to being Porzingis. Again, sort of throwing away out that Minnesota game, sort of a blowout. Didn't really need much from either of the guys. Before that, 56, 58. It's not, he's going to be unowned, and that's pretty much my only argument for him. But again, not a guy I'm going to get heavy with. The real only heavy guys in this game for me are the first 3 I mentioned from the San Antonio side, and DeRozan, Murray, and Podol, with a little bit of Trey Lyles, and then my other one, just going to be way heavy on Luka with a tiny bit of Kristaps. That's it.
You know, I think it's really important that when people are listening to these things, or any content or any podcast that you listen with an ear for context. When I say that, I mean, it depends what kind of player you are, like what kind of takes you take from these podcasts, right? So like Bobby keeps referring to, well, tonight I might be playing, multi-entering. So I might give a little more of an opinion on a guy like this, where if I were playing 1 or 2 entries, maybe the guy wouldn't even enter my discussion at all. And I think that's really important, that when you're trying to interpret what other people are saying, and as I've said many times, I'm like the grand master of information aggregation, picking up what other people say and importing that into my brain in a way that I can apply it. And when you guys watch this, again, we got some people watching that just do single entry. We have some people that just do cash. We have some people that multi-enter. So you have to be able to filter through what we're saying and apply that to what you're doing. You know what I mean? So like I don't think that if I play 5 lineups, I'm going to have any without Pirtle. But once I get into more like, 15 or 20, then I can start thinking about it. And God forbid, if I have 150 lineups, sure, they might be whatever, 30 of them without him or something like that. So when you think about the possibilities of some plays, you do have to factor in, you have to think about how many lineups you're playing and how much variance you want within those lineups.
Exactly. I think it's good. I try to point it out as I'm talking about it, and I try and say if I was not playing this many lineups, I wouldn't do this.
Yeah, but it's not up to you. You know what I mean? It's not up to us, and we're giving our own opinions, whatever. But it's up to the viewer. I mean, you guys as intelligent consumers and as intelligent people that are watching, you have to know what you're listening to, and you have to filter that in through what you're looking for. And when I would look at content, that's always what I would do. I would say, okay, like I don't want to give names, but like the one guy on one site, he's like a real cash guy, and he does like a lot of core plays. And when I listen to him, I'm thinking about, okay, what is he saying that I might be able to use as kind of like a chalky play in my otherwise, fancier GPP lineups. And there are other guys I listen to that I know are giving me kind of more off the board plays. Like, where should I be paying attention, and maybe find guys that I could, put in higher variance spots. So you got to know who as an audience, you got to know who you're listening to and what type of things you're looking to get from them.
Yeah, I agree. I think it's a good point.
Okay, so moving on, Clippers against Phoenix. This is another game which has some interesting situations. Less interesting, I guess. I don't know. Is on the Clippers side. I actually like a play from the Clippers, who you've liked before, and I don't know why I like him today, but I kind of would like to play Paul George today. Mm-hmm. They haven't let him loose yet. I mean, they only had him play 21 minutes in a 50-point blowout the other day. But even if, 30 minutes, Paul George,
possible.
If that happens,
yeah,
at what's probably going to be low ownership, I imagine. I think everybody on the Clippers is going to be low owned. I think that that could be something I might want to do. I'm not probably into Kawhi. He definitely rates to be the best play, but I'm just not playing him. Patrick Beverley's 3,900.
Yeah, it's too cheap.
I just thought I would mention that.
Oh no, I'm playing some Patrick Beverley tonight.
Okay.
It's going to depend a little bit on the Teague thing, but this just makes. So there. Let's just say Beverley. The projections for Beverley, in my opinion, are too low on everything because they haven't really he hasn't been back, and then they just blew out Memphis. Sure, there's other guards now that could take some minutes, but overall, Beverley's still going to play. Probably until he fouls out, which he's probably going to do at some point. Yeah, it's too cheap to me for Beverley. I'm more than happy to take the shot there. I do worry a little bit, though, about the Paul George thing.
Sure.
I'm more worried than I was before because I really think he's more injured than he's letting on. Sure, could he still blow up if he gets the minutes? For sure he could. But it's sort of making me want to just go back and say, I find myself more interested in this on FanDuel because it's easy to kind of need to spend up certain other places. So I'm playing Kawhi a little bit more over there, but I'm open to taking a shot on him. I just think that for me the priority would more be Beverley in this game, and then a little bit of Kawhi maybe. But I don't really want to get crazy with George and Leonard on this slate just because I like some of the other plays.
But so the thing is that the reason why I was looking for is because Phoenix has just all kinds of crazy stuff, So
yeah,
Kelly Oubre being out is a pretty huge deal. He's really active in so many ways. So that usage is just going to be soaked up. And so let's talk about the obvious one is Devin Booker is going to be a really, really strong play. It's going to be a really, really good value. He's going to be really high owned, and he's definitely someone to consider. Let's put it that way. The other guy I mentioned to you a couple of times earlier is another center, is Ayton. I think that the Clippers have been, it's been kind of out of the bag that people have been able to attack the Clippers with bigs pretty easily, and I think that Ayton is in a tremendous spot to get that happening. So, again, depending on ownership, he's yet another really strong center that you can play. But then it gets like fun, like with Oubre out, do you get Dario Saric starting? You know what I mean? At 3,200, at 25 plus minutes. Can you still play Ricky Rubio even though he's at 6,900? Do you want to? Now, my view on Michael Bridges is a little different than maybe most people. Like Michael Bridges, I don't know. See, maybe his usage might improve a little bit. I don't think his minutes are going to improve because he was going to play a bunch of minutes anyway.
Yeah.
I guess Cam Johnson would be the next guy you would go, right? So for me, it'd be Cam Johnson or Saric would be the guys you really have to kind of figure out.
Yeah, it's an interesting one too because the Clippers haven't been impressive enough to where I worry about them blowing, but it's always in the bag that they could. It's always in the possibility they could blow somebody out. The guy who I'm sort of leaning towards a little bit again, and it's just because no one's going to play him, and he's just been, he's red hot. I just told you, like he was doing it the other night too. Ricky Rubio, no one's going to play him. And when he gets going on these runs, I remember he does it pretty much every year. If this game is going to stay close, I expect Rubio or Booker or Ayton, obviously, to have a big game. So I think Rubio would be, I just want to throw him in the mix because you didn't mention him, but I would prefer Booker. I think he's just at 7,900. I understand the matchup's tough, but if this game stays close, these guys have to get hot. The main guys you want to focus on to me, though, are Saric and Cameron Johnson. I don't really care if Cameron Johnson starts or not. I do care if Dario Saric starts or not.
That's interesting.
It's a bigger difference to me. So if I heard Cam was starting and everybody flocked him, I don't know. I might have to change my opinion a little bit, but I do feel safer. The one thing we know is Mikal Bridges is going to play a ton of minutes. So is Rubio, Booker, and Ayton. You can play some of all those guys, and then but the truth is that I'm looking at my ownership for this game. The highest is Saric, followed by Booker, and then Cam Johnson, then Rubio. Well, actually, Cam Johnson, Rubio, and Ayton I have as the same ownership. I just worry a little bit. I don't know what it is about Ayton that I don't seem to end up playing him as much. I think it's just the center position here.
No, you know what it is? Because he's just got that mean look on his face all the time. He's got that thing, and he's just looking. He doesn't look like he's really into it, and just got that angry look, and you just don't feel like playing him. You like playing guys like, Devin Booker, it looks like they're ready to go, whatever it is. I guess that's what it is. But Ayton looks like dude, if he's only 10%, I'm going to try it.
It is. It's a little bit crazy. They all rate really well. The Clippers, one thing about them, their defense has not been what it's supposed to be. They played fast. Phoenix has been playing faster. This game is a nice little interesting spot. I just wish I liked more on the Clippers side. But I agree with you. There is a lot to like on the Phoenix side, and probably will have one player from Phoenix in a fair bit of my lineups today.
All right. So we'll move on. Before we move on, because I know I'm not going to have time to talk about this, I made a note not to rant. So in yesterday's review, Chicago was playing whoever the hell they were playing, like Oklahoma City. And this is basically my analysis. I would say, listen, I would normally play Zach LaVine like every slate, especially when I know he's going to be 5% owned. But I think that this is exactly what I said, but I think Kobe White is taking just so many shots because he's so hot that I think he's just going to you got to really start thinking about the idea that he's going to be taking shots away from Zach LaVine. And the fact that Kobe White's too pricey, I might just have to avoid both of them. And I just neglected the possibility that the two of them could just both go freaking nuts. And both went just crazy yesterday. They each had one of them had 40 points. The other one had 35 points, real points yesterday. And you mentioned you mentioned earlier, just getting mad and being angry, whatever. I don't know if you saw this, but towards the end of the game, it's all over Twitter too. You got to see this. Is LaVine, while someone was taking foul shots, they were down 4 or something like that. He was so hot. He made a comment like, "Wants to take me out of the game. I got 40 freaking points." Right? He was mouthing about his coach. He said, you can see it all over there. I got 40 freaking points. And the next possession, he take the ball out down 4. He pulled up from the Chicago Bulls horns and drained it. It was the sickest freaking thing I've ever seen. You didn't smile, didn't do anything, even went to the timeout. Everybody high-fived him. That coach is just going to be gone so soon. And it's all over. You really going to keep starting Archie Diacono with Kobe White now getting 40, like 50, 30 points a game.
It's beyond. Yes, I'm with you.
It's crazy. All right, so anyway, that was my one little rant.
No, I like it.
But you know what he's going to say? He's going to say, you know what? I haven't started him, and he's had 35 points. I think I'm doing a good job with him.
Oh yeah, right. Whatever. What do you think of his last game? Because I actually think there's like it's anybody. Is there anybody who jumps out to you? Because I've got a couple thoughts.
Yeah. So, hey, listen, this is your fault for reminding me of this stuff. So if I waste 30 seconds a day on this, Gordon Hayward is going back to Utah.
I'm on it, man. I understand. I was ready.
Just thought I'd let you know that. Aside from that, I do think that all the Boston guys do not project all that well. I don't know how I would, if I were going to play them without some other external forces driving me that way, other than the fact they're probably going to, I would imagine, going to be really low owned. So I think that all of them look very similar to me. I guess I'd have to, I couldn't even prioritize. I think they all look just kind of fine. So I would just, go with a Hayward into Utah at a egregious 7,400 as the way I would try it. I don't even know if I'm going to play this game. Let's just see. And on the Utah, on the other side, though, I think maybe we could give Conley.
This without Kemba? I don't think it's egregious without Kemba.
You don't think?
No,
well, good.
And this guy the other day, like what was it, a couple weeks ago, he put up 50 fantasy points shooting 6 for 21 from the floor.
Oh, sounds good. Sounds good to me then. I'm in. And on the Utah side, I'd like whatchamacallit. I like Conley here. I have this feeling that he's going to get the better matchup. I think that Smart is probably going to do something like, talk about football, maybe shadow Donovan Mitchell or something. I think he might be more attuned to Donovan Mitchell, and maybe Conley doesn't have to deal with him, so maybe he could get the best matchup, if there is one for Boston, which there probably isn't. But I do think that Conley would be my favorite play. I'm kind of a little annoyed at Gobert. I don't know if I can play him for a little while. It's kind of hurt my feelings a little bit. The fact he just never shoots and never does anything offensively. So this will be the time where there are 800 other centers that you could play. This will obviously be the time that he scores 70 fantasy points with me not having him. But do you like Conley? That's pretty much it. Not too excited about this game, if you want to know the truth.
So I have I've made it really clear that I believe Jason Tatum has taken like a jump, like a massive jump. He looks like a totally different person to me. His intensity is different. The way he plays, he carries himself like a superstar in really tough matchups. I mean, like against the Lakers the other day, great example. Of course, he goes out and was it his career high or certainly his season high or right up there anyway with it. Has a monster game with 40 real life points. That was the Lakers before. Then he goes back to Portland, does basically the same thing.
He's got 50. He's got 50 plus 4 games in a row.
Yeah, I mean, and even the ones he didn't, he had 41, 44, 51, 50, 62 before that. Maybe we're missing something, and maybe he should be 9,500 or 10. Like, I think that he's worth taking a shot on here. And I also, it's not just the revenge narrative. I actually think Gordon Hayward is in play. This team, especially if Conley keeps starting, without Royce O'Neal, this is not the same defensive team. They're undersized at every single position, or they're slow at every position, except for center. There's only one position that they're good at on all these things, and that's Gobert. But he can't guard everybody. So they're getting lit up left and right by, trying to play Donovan Mitchell as a 6'1" guard next to a 6 foot, 300-year-old Mike Conley. It makes me not want to play Conley, who I really like, because I'm worried at some point Utah makes the obvious choice and just says, you know what? You're getting bench minutes. If we want to have a chance to win, we cannot play this kind of defense. So I like Conley on that side a little bit. Having said that, even still, if they announce that he's not starting, I would be a little bit careful. But I still think off the bench he could even have a chance to get there. Not really interested in anybody else in Utah except for maybe throw Gobert into a lineup or two. But again, Tatum and Hayward are definitely in play for me. And I am going to get Hayward another unowned Jason Tatum night. And look, man, if we just closed our eyes and played Jason Tatum with the chalk for the last couple weeks, we would have been printing money. So
yeah, but I'd also be remiss not to point out. I mean, now it's a little different because it's coming off of a week off for the All-Star game, but it is 4 games in 6 nights at a back-to-back Portland into Utah, which is no bargain. So it's finishing off a post All-Star game road trip. It might not be the greatest situation for the Celtics, and it also might lend itself to sharing minutes a little bit. Just that's just
And
my
I get it
again.
from a sports betting perspective. I think it makes a lot of sense. From a DFS perspective, that makes me like Tatum even more because it makes me just think that they're gonna have to rely on him and Hayward, but him especially, to create and run their offense in in a tough situation. And while you can, Jaylen Brown's fine, all these guys, I'm going to throw out one gross play, but that I'm only putting in because it's mass entering and because maybe I'm a little bit too on the narrative streets in general. Enes Kanter has played with these guys before. This is his team.
It's back-to-back revenge for him. He was at Portland last night.
Yeah, but Portland's not really a revenge. This is his real revenge team.
Oh, no. Knicks is going to be the revenge team.
The Knicks, oh, yeah, okay.
I went to one Knick game a year for the last however many years. The game I was at last year, he was on the bench and the whole crowd was begging them to put him in. He was just totally benched for the last 3 weeks, and even he was standing up going like this, just begging to get into the game. He hates those people. I don't know if he's played him yet since, but he's yeah.
I love it. That's a good little. I'll remember that one.
Yeah.
But yeah, anyway, I don't think I'm gonna it's not like I'm playing a ton of Cantor. I'm just throwing out there that you can give it a shot here and there. Anyway, Sheets, get us some final thoughts before I get into my ownerships real quick before we get out of here.
Yeah. So again, I'm not like you. I think the DeRozan chalk's a little firmer than you do.
No, he's firm. I have him at 50%, but
okay.
But Luka, I've got it 70%.
So you have Luka at a higher percentage than DeRozan.
I have Luka at a higher percentage than every player on the slate.
And that would be higher than DeRozan then, wouldn't it?
It's higher than total at the moment. I mean, I'm not sure it's going to stay that way. It's going to depend on what injury news breaks. But I can't see how I'm going to that's going to end up making me own him any less. You know what I mean?
So
you need to spend. Why not spend on him?
So we're not worried about ankles or anything like that. 25 minutes. Okay. All right. I'm with you. I like him more than do I like him? Yeah, I have to like him more than Harden Westbrook, right? Yeah, I guess.
Yeah. Although you can play them together on this slate.
Certainly can.
Yep.
You can play him with Beal too.
Yep.
Maybe Beal's the idea.
I think Beal's that's you can actually play all three. I've already been trying to mess with it a little bit, but you can do it if you really want to be a sicko.
Oh my God, that's how you end up with Trey Lyles and Rudy Gay and.
I mean, do people not? I mean, they should at least game log watch enough to make Bradley Beal. Why is he not higher projected on this slate? I just cannot for the life of me understand it. I got it the other night because it was a back-to-back and it was Milwaukee and there's blowout risk and all that. But then he just goes out and does it again.
Again, I think that in the end, I think what you said is going to drive his ownership higher a little bit. The fact that they play him at small forward, I think that was very sharp.
But you also have DeRozan at small forward too. That's the other thing.
Oh, they'll play them both.
The build is going to end up being kind of chalky, so I'm trying to get away from that a little bit.
Yeah.
I'll read my ownership stuff if you're ready.
Go for it.
So I'm happiest on Luka and obviously then Podol, DeRozan. That's my core. Not getting crazy off the board there. Obviously, if Jeff Teague is announced the starter, if Trae Young is out, I think he's interesting. I mean, not interesting. I think he's hard to fade. If we assume it's going to be 30 minutes, which it might be, so it's going to be a tricky situation to try and fade all of this goodness. But you have to pay for some guys. Bradley Beal is the next tier for me on his own. Josh Richardson, Taurean Prince, Russell Westbrook, Patrick Beverley, Dario Saric, PJ Washington, Kevin Love, Tobias Harris, and Embiid are sort of my next level, but they're all – I know it's a lot of guys, but I'm trying to still find my way through this without knowing what's going to happen with Trae yet. So that's where I'm at as of right now. Oh, and with those guys, DeJounte Murray and Jason Tatum also are in that category. So that's sort of the way I'm leaning. I would just encourage people to try to get the correlation down on this slate. I think it's more important on this slate than it is on most. And I would try to make sure just to not – it's going to be too easy to just make the individual plays here and there, but to try and run back some of these spots where there's going to be massive chalk. And Philly's not massive chalk, but it's a good example where I'd want to play someone from Cleveland if I'm going to play a couple Philly guys. Just stuff like that.
Yeah, watch for the Trae Young news. Yeah, if Trae Young's ruled out, then you'll be able to play three studs, right? Is that the story?
I think so. And even if not, I mean, you could reach and do it. And it might be a good night to do that because I could see between Luka, between Luka, Beal, and Westbrook, would it really surprise us if we got over 200 points from those guys? I don't think so. So if we've got even reasonable value, you're already looking at like 300 points with like 2 spots to go. Just playing those guys, you know what I mean? It's a pretty good situation. And you could play guys like Taurean Prince as sort of sneaky other value, or Patrick Beverley. That's what I would encourage you people to do, rather than just going with just the hardcore chalk, but to try and sneak some of those guys in and to try and correlate.
Yeah. All right, sounds good. We'll
all
come
right.
back with the
All right, guys. We're going to do a quick FanDuel one coming up next. Thanks so much, guys. Please give us the like and subscribe. And, yeah, give us your thoughts. Hit us up on Twitter, all that stuff. And we will see you at the top of the leaderboards.
Sounds good.